No, I think the text actually was, I think I could be in trouble. Like,
Something
and I would never
to
text
terrify
that.
me.
Like, I would never
Yeah.
text something like that. But the situation that I'm in now is that the car has slid into the water now. The bigger trucks who have driven by have been throwing 1 foot waves that have lifted the van up like a floating boat and moved it further and further
Into the water.
into the water.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing today?
Morning. Well, not as good as you.
I know. I'm like, I've had like probably one of the most disastrous weeks. I had the best disasters. And, I've always said that, when bad things happen, you just have to kind of power and celebrate through it. And, of course, that's after like the first 5 minutes where I want to throw myself off a bridge. But after
Oh my
that,
gosh. Well, also, you're talking a mile a minute, which is normally me.
I
But
know.
You've had a couple of coffees this morning.
I had
so-
2 coffees today.
Yeah, which you
So-
typically do, but maybe they were just like closer
If I have
together.
something.
This is like your alcohol intake. He's completely fine, but if he has 2 drinks before he's eaten anything, then like
Then I get a little
Yeah.
cray.
a little cry.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, you know what, there's so many good things that are happening. And so I think I'm just really excited about all those, and they kind of overshadow kind of like some of the craziness
You
that we've
always
had.
focus on the positive. You definitely always see the silver lining and everything. But it has been an insane week.
It's been an insane week.
And so, I mean, we're going to tell the story because we can't not. But the drive home from the office is getting more interesting by the weeks
Well,
because
first of all-
because the last podcast I'm the one who watched the carjacking,
Right.
And
Yeah.
now you're the one with the crazy story getting home.
Well, a couple things. So one is we have started commuting to work, right? And so
It was short lived.
so when you're driving and you were both in the office together, and we have this morning drive, I actually get really excited, right? But then I think you
He's
had
been
mentioned
dreaming about us driving to work together for the
for
longest
years.
time.
Oh my gosh, for
Which
years.
is funny because he actually hates. I'm definitely a backseat driver.
Oh my gosh, you are the. I shouldn't say the worst person to drive with. I'm sure there's worser people, but
You and your ers on the end of
Look,
your words.
it's all ers.
No, it's
Five
not.
er.
You say funner.
funner,
Yeah, it's
weirder.
It's not proper English.
Well, here's the reality that I live in is that if Beck was not driving with me, I would probably hit every vehicle, run off the road, be too close, plow into things, run red lights. But because you're with me in the car, none of those things happen.
If you guys can't
Because you warned
sense
me.
the sarcasm, you know what? He just doesn't. He just doesn't feel the need to slow down anytime soon. But
Well, I've been driving for quite some time.
we
30
did.
years.
Not that we're going to get into this story right now, but years ago, you and I got in a rollover car accident, and I
did.
think ever since then, I have
It's
definitely
yeah.
been a lot more
Well, we've both been very
uncomfortable in the car.
more cautious overall. And that was in a rainstorm that just rain appeared out of nowhere, and we were on the interstate. And
So
it
now,
happened.
anytime it rains, instant panic.
Instant panic.
Yeah.
So typically and actually I do get a little nervous and I'll slow down because it just, after you experience something like that, you just,
But we were driving to work together, and he like weaves in and out of massive trucks on industrial drives.
I don't know about that.
And yes, you do. And then you what was I gonna say? Oh, he cuts people off, the big trucks off at the
First of all,
railroad
if
tracks.
you're-
They're
first of all-
stopping so they don't get killed by
if
the
your
train.
turn
He's
signal's
like,
on, you're not cutting someone off. It only
"You
classifies as cutting
never
off if your turn
use your
signal's
turn-
off.
You never use your turn
Okay.
signal.
Okay. So if big trucks have to stop for the train tracks, and we have to cross a train track on the way to the office, and so a lot of times those trucks will stop, and there'll be like 3 or 4 car lengths in front of them. So I just go across the tracks and change lanes and get into where they could have been had they been in a normal vehicle.
Yeah. Well, that's been interesting. But we have had some fun.
Look,
going
every
back
day's
and forth.
Mario Kart.
And then the other day, I was in the office and I was going to go home early because we didn't have any groceries in the house after being at the lake for the weekend. And so I was going to go home, grocery shop, start dinner. And it was like 4:30. And I was like, do you want to just come with me? And you were like, no, I'll take the work van home. And I mean, this is like goes to show that, you know, if your wife asks you to come home with you, you should just come. But
instead, I decided to just take one of the work vans and just bring it home and stay.
You stayed for like another hour and a half,
and
I
like
think.
yeah, and so
Maybe
it was
2
late.
hours.
It was probably like 6:30.
6:30.
And for those of you who have seen the news down here in Florida, we had what they're saying is the highest recorded rainfall ever, which was 8 inches in 1 hour here in Sarasota, Florida.
And it just so happened, people, to be the hour.
It's the same hour that I was driving home.
The work
and
van.
I got about a half mile from the house, and I could see
so
that cars
close.
were, I was so close, and I could see that cars were stopping, and you could see the road was underwater. And when you grew up in Florida and you see water on the road, you're like, oh, I'm just going to drive through water. Like there's no fear of water. Like it's not like Texas or these mountainous regions where like this river forms and washes out a road. Like I just never seen that happen. And even through hurricanes, all the hurricanes I've been through here, like just never seen it. But I'm sitting there and all these cars are stopped and I'm in the van and I'm like, okay, you know what? These people are all stopped. They must be from up north. I'm going to go around. So I went through this parking lot that was right next to the road. It was all dry.
The parking lot was high.
It was all dry. And so I get to the edge of the parking lot and it dips down and you can see water and then the road's right there. And it's 20 feet. It's only 20 feet away. Well, I didn't realize it, but the dip there, because I never go through this parking lot, the dip there was like 2 feet.
It's quite dramatic.
It was quite dramatic. So I
You
ended
didn't
up
realize
going in.
how
I didn't
far the
realize
road was.
how deep
Yeah.
the water was in just that little section of road. So I'm driving through it, and what ends up happening is the car stalls.
What had happened was
the car had stalled, and then I try to start it, and it didn't start, and I'm like, oh crap, like. I think I just became that guy.
I mean, and here, so like a little bit of context on my side too. He always texts me when he's coming home from the office, so he's like headed home, and I was like, okay. And I'm sitting there chopping up all the vegetables and getting dinner ready because that's what I was doing. And I'm in the kitchen, and literally like 10 minutes before any of this fiasco happened, Alexa, who we have in our kitchen playing music, was like, had a notification. And I was like, Alexa, notification. And she was just like, there is a flash flood warning in Sarasota, Florida. And I was like, well, no shit. Like, I mean, it had been raining forever. Like, I
hours.
verbally said out loud, like, yeah, I bet there is. And so, but I'm sitting there going, it's been a long time since you had left the office. And I was thinking, it is raining, so I'm sure he's driving slow. My phone was on silent, but I went over.
It's a 15-minute drive from house to office.
So it had been too long. And I was like, I hope everything's okay. I'm going to check my phone. Of course, I go over and I check my phone, and I've got like 2 missed calls, a text message. It's like, call me. So I'm like, oh no, what's happened?
No, I think the text actually was, I think I could be in trouble. Like,
something
and I would never
to
text
terrify
that.
me.
Like I would never text something like that. But the situation that I'm in now is that the car has slid into the water now. The bigger trucks who have driven by have been throwing 1-foot waves that have lifted the van up like a floating boat and moved it further and further
into the water.
Yeah. And I have water pouring in the door jambs and it's filling up the car. And so I'm sitting there. Now I know I'm not worried for my life or anything because the water's not going to get that high, but it's halfway up the door on the outside. And I'm taking video footage of this because I'm like, I got to document this. Like, right? Like,
well, and we were on the
every
phone
good
at this
millennial
point.
needs me to document this.
Oh
so
yeah,
they can
that's
watch
right.
it.
I called you in the middle of one of your epic films that you were working on.
You called when I started filming
Yes.
right away, and then that kind of interrupted a really good video that I could have made. But there's cars that are like underwater and everything else, and I'm right there. So there's probably at least a dozen of us that got caught right there and at the right time. And
at the wrong time.
At the wrong time. It was the right time to flood your car.
But so I call him and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, are you okay? Can you get out the window? Is the car, because the car completely stopped. It wouldn't turn
power.
on.
Yeah, no power, but or no engine power.
No
but
engine
I had electric.
power. Yeah,
so
you had
the
electric
windows
at the
could
time,
go down.
but I was worried. And I'm like, can you open the door? And he's like, if I open the door, he's like, this van's going to fill up with 4 feet of water. He's
It
like,
is.
So, and he's like, maybe I can get out the window. But this guy, then all of a sudden while we were on the phone, you were like, oh, there's a guy with a big monster truck. truck.
So there's a good Samaritan out there with a monster truck and a chain. He's like, and we
Like
talked
one car
afterwards.
after
He's like,
another.
I've been waiting years for this situation.
For this
The
moment.
chain looked brand new. Like he's like, I've had this chain so long and I've been waiting to use it. And so he hooked up to the back of the van. He pulled me literally 10 feet, 15 feet, and I was on dry
Back
land.
onto the parking lot where you should have
back
stayed.
on the parking lot where I should have stayed. And
But so then I called and I was like, what's the plan? And you were kind of like, well, I'm going to wait it out. And then it got to the point
I was
where
like, I can walk home. It's only a half mile.
I was going to come and get you. And I went out on the roads and both sides of our house were pretty much flooded. But I was able to go in the center of the street to get down or whatever. Because I was like, okay, I'm not going to come. Then I decided I was going to come.
Meanwhile, while she's en route, I had my phone, my wallet, everything. And I closed the door of the van and it locked.
With the key
With the
inside,
key in it, everything in it. Now I can't call her. Now I can't do anything.
Which also is so ironic because we just had an
We just had the van rekeyed.
lost key fiasco the week before. And so talk about unplanned expenses.
So, and I think that's really kind of what this episode is about is just like, we've talked about emergency funds. We've talked about savings. We've talked about preparing for these things that we classify. And I swear we could probably take the footage from not too long ago. And I was like, I don't know why you need an emergency fund.
And I'm like,
then we have this major emergency.
But your husband thinks he can get through 4 feet of water in a work van.
So, replacing the key was inconvenient, right? And so it was like, hey, here's $400. Like, this is like, and it was like, okay, like you could stomach it. You were like,
we had to get someone to come and unlock the doors. And
unlock it, give us new keys.
My dad was texting on the night of the flood and he was just like, well, at least you know a good guy to come break in and get your, car unlocked. He's like, too soon? Because it was literally like the week before. And I said, it is too soon, but Chris doesn't even have his phone, so he can't see.
The family's chatting about everything. And I always communicate with everyone, but it'd been a good day because my phone was dying and dead in there.
But anyway, so I had to go and get him and I was doing so well. And all of a sudden I come up to 6th Street where he got stuck.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's something out of a movie.
But we own a truck. And that truck's
I
high
still
up, and
shit
she
my
plowed
pants.
through water.
I was going through water.
I could see
the
her
whole
face.
time I was going,
you had 2 hands on the steering wheel. You were like so intense.
I was terrified.
And as you're getting ready to go through the deep thing that got stuck for me, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, don't stop in that area.
And
I'm like motioning for you to come up the hill and keep coming.
Well, hold
Meanwhile,
on.
the guy that towed me out is towing a second car.
He's chaining this other car up who has no control over their own wheel.
They have no control.
And Chris is like, come up on this hill, like right in the path of where they were chaining this car up. And he's like, I don't think they're going to hit you.
I know. I had her back up and
I was into the puddle.
I felt really good though because we,
into 5 feet of
we
water.
put our boat in with that truck, and so like it's always underwater in terms of backing into the water.
Oh, that's
everything.
a whole story.
So I felt
too.
very comfortable. No, we're not. We'll save the boat story for another day. I think so. I don't think the world can handle that right now.
I know. It was a stressful couple of days.
So anyways, long story short, we ended up having the van towed to a mechanic friend of ours.
So that night
day.
I got him home. He doesn't have his phone. He doesn't have anything. He's locked out of the car. The van won't work. It's literally in the middle of this parking lot, like blocking traffic. Yeah. But we just had to leave it there.
We just had to leave it.
And then that night, so I come home and like all this just happened. We like strip off our soaking wet clothes because you were outside.
I was
like,
in jeans,
drenched in dress shoes. And so then we get home, you shower and everything. And I was just like, I'm going to pretend none of that ever happened and go back to cooking this wonderful meal I was planning on making.
Right. And I didn't have
evening.
a phone. And I know that something, I don't know the magnitude of the badness, but I know that something bad has happened.
So he's all in his own head.
So I'm in my own head
because
I'm already thinking like, oh gosh, is this van, we have a functioning company that relies on
you
this
either
van.
work or you clean if you're upset. So
Yeah.
it was like
I didn't clean though.
No, but you worked. It was like go do something with yourself.
Yeah.
So at like 11 o'clock
I had
at
to
night,
stay focused.
finally the rain had stopped. Although it stopped and we went
First
out
of all,
and then
my
it started
bedtime's
raining
10
again.
o'clock.
I
And
know.
at 11 o'clock at night, we're headed out back to the office to get the spare key.
No, we first went to the van, and
We
sure
went to
as
the
shit,
van.
we were still locked out.
We were still locked out. We basically confirmed it because before we were in the pouring rain. The rain had stopped.
Yes. Then we
by
had to go
11.
all the way to the office, which was like 20 minutes away.
Got
Came
the
back
spare,
home.
came back.
We went back to the
unlocked
van. Yes.
And then I realized that when they rekeyed the van, the old key which we ended up finding no longer worked. And that's why we had to make a trip, because we actually had the spare. But anyway, remind me to call them.
Okay.
We need to get our money back.
Money back?
Yeah, for the other key.
Got it.
Right, because he told me that the other one would still work, and obviously it doesn't. And I was in the rain, so that made me kind of upset. So
he hates getting rained on.
First of all,
he was in the tank battalion.
When I was in the Army, I could sit and do anything, but I spent so much time in the rain that I do not like to be in the rain anymore.
Yeah, he hates it. He used to have to fall asleep on cardboard and like just hard floors and whatever else in the rain. And now he like, if it's so much as drizzles on him, he's like, let's go inside.
Let's go inside.
But anyway, so he was.
I'm like all down now. Like
he was using buckets to like get out the water. Then he had a siphon. I mean, the shit this man has in his garage, like on the ready.
Yeah, I just happen to have it. It's so funny because.
And then he gets so excited.
If you're a guy, you know this. You have things in your garage that you have
man
not touched
like
in
you.
years. No, trust me. The men are like me.
The men.
If you're a man in
Watch
your
out,
garage,
boys.
If you're a man in your garage, you have things that you haven't used in years. And you're like, should I get rid of that? You're like, no, because the time will come.
And he was so excited, even though
I will need this. I had this battery operated siphon that I've had for no less than 20 years.
That he's never used.
That I have transported through the Army, through moving, through life.
For this moment.
And for this moment, I used that.
And we did
siphon.
come home and he was like, it worked so well. Can you believe I had this? He was like,
I was like, can you believe I had this? Yeah.
Oh my
Save
gosh.
the day.
So we had to leave it again, but this time we were in the car, so we both pushed the van into a parking spot. I'm in my pajamas because you did tell me on the 11 o'clock.
Your pajamas.
On the 11 o'clock route, I wasn't supposed to have to get out of the car.
Yeah.
But I did.
But it wasn't raining, so you got out. It was dark, you know.
It was raining.
It was sprinkling.
Okay. Anyway, so that was a whole fiasco. Towed it. And we did open up the engine on the night of and felt the filter, and we thought it was dry.
We thought it was dry.
Unfortunately,
you know, according to my touch, it was dry. But I guess what it was so wet that that's what it looked like.
It all felt the same.
It all felt the same. So it didn't, because I was kind of looking for like a watercolor.
Right.
Versus
the whole thing was wet.
The whole thing was actually wet.
So anyway, we need a new engine, and that's a fun, unplanned expense.
So we towed it to the mechanic yesterday, and it turns out that we need a new $5,000 engine.
Yeah. We have an amazing friend who is incredible, who owns the mechanics.
Yeah.
And he's going to
So they're going to try to, give us the best deal that we can. And then, of course, we called insurance and filed a claim along with a few other 1,000 people here in this area.
Seriously. Well, and that was what was so crazy when we went back at 11 p.m. to, siphon out all the water. There were so many tow trucks and police cars all on the road.
Towing all the cars
There was
away.
like 10 cars in the middle of the main roads
and that's
that couldn't
just that
be there till the
intersection.
next morning. I know. Later we found we had friends whose cars are still stuck in their neighborhoods. And I mean, it was wild. It just came on so quick. It was right at rush hour while people were coming home from work.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say 6:30 was rush hour, 7 o'clock.
There's a lot of people still coming home from
there
work.
There was quite
the
a few.
road's busy. It's not 5.
Yeah,
that would have been
it's not the 5 o'clock traffic. It's definitely the 6 o'clock crowd. But so here we are. Now we have insurance to deal with. So we have a $2,000 deductible. So if the engine's 5, we're going to come out of pocket like 3, and it's one of those things.
Insurance always tries to find a reason not to help you. I feel like
no, and here I had a great conversation with them. And we actually use Progressive, and so they seem to be really good. We'll kind of share what happens in the aftermath. I'm sure we'll bring it up in a podcast.
We're in a good mood today.
If
they give him nothing,
if they give me nothing, I'm probably going to get nothing, and I'm going to be like, that damn insurance company. Be like,
but right now they're our friends. Like, yes. Oh my God.
It's all a racket.
No, it was actually so crazy. I Ubered this morning because we no longer have 2 vehicles, and I didn't want to come to the office as early as you, but I was in the car with this guy, and he was like, "Yeah, it was crazy." He's like, "My wife's manager was like helping right next to the speedway on 301. He was like shirtless, using his truck," and I was like, "He got us out of the water."
We know him. He's
like,
famous.
Small world.
He's Sarasota famous. I actually got his business card, and I was like, "Hey man, mind, give me a text. And he's like, I got a card. And so we're going to send him a
thank
gift
you.
basket. Yeah. So from one of our companies here, I think we'll give him some treats and
maybe even a hat.
we're going to give him a hat. I know. And maybe a gift card to, some places. And,
That's awesome. Yeah, we would have been in a much worse condition if that was still sitting in all that water.
Yeah. And so I feel like I need to bring up the hat thing, but we haven't finished the conversation. So anyway, going back, unexpected costs, right? And so, whether you have a business or it's something in your family and you have these things, it can cause a lot of stress. And I think that, we were a little bit stressed out, even though we're sitting here going, there are ways to pay for it. There's different things that we can do. And it's trying to decide, hey, what's the best fit for us? But you're still caught in the moment and sitting there and going, what do I do?
Well, and it wasn't even, honestly, like when these things happen, just like anything else in life, you have to kind of take a step back and weigh all options, because it was a van that we utilized for a business entity. And it was like, is this van the best option? Should we rent a trailer? What would that cost be? How comparatively to fixing a new engine, is this something that no matter what we're going to have to fix? So if we rented something else, it would just be in addition to, but would that help us for the time being? Do we use something to make the money to pay for it? I mean, there were so many discussions
we shut it down
going
for a week and a half? There
were a lot of
running?
discussions, but we came up with the best decision. We're fixing the van. We're excited about it. And we're Jimmy rigging the entire business in the meantime.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes.
And the thing is with this particular business is that we're in prime season because it's hot in the summertime.
Yeah. It's the air conditioning business that got shut down.
It's what impacts us the most. And so we're in a good position, we're in a position to keep it going.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty happy about that.
But it was wild. Flash flooding was absolutely wild. So if anybody's out there, Chris would like a new engine for Father's Day.
Yeah. So my Father's Day present, I would like a 4-cylinder.
Yes, give the details. But it is right around the corner.
It is.
I know.
It is. Matter of fact,
awesome.
I think when we actually push this podcast out, it'll actually be Father's Day.
Oh, yeah, on Sunday.
So Sunday is Father's Day.
Yes, while you're listening.
Happy Father's Day, everyone.
I know. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Jerry, we know you're listening.
I can already... you used a name. No, I can say that we'll be making some wood fire pizzas on Sunday. I'm super excited, and I'm not ruining my dad's gift because his birthday is right next to Father's Day every year. Right. So usually I try to think of something that would be good, where you can buy like something big.
Yeah, we've shifted to experiences, and so what was really nice about this gift is that while it's a physical item, it's the experience of cooking.
Yeah, we got him one of those Uni pizza ovens. And I love to cook, and he loves grilled pizzas. We usually do them on the grill. Yeah. So now we can experiment with this like wood fire. And my dad brews his own beer. So it's like he loves the kind of scientific aspect of, heating or cooling.
By the way, your dad is a man. Just so you know, and there's things in his garage, like his brewing equipment and things he's never used in 5-10 years that are valuable.
Wow. He's researching how to use this pizza oven, and I'm super excited because we got him some of the accessories that we need for Father's Day. And again, I'm not ruining any surprises because he's well aware that we're grilling up pizzas. But my sister, who, if she's listening, I love her to death, but she's that girl where it's like, you feel like you need to touch. She's gotten so much better over the years, but she's the family member that you text and you're like, hey, don't forget to text mom today. It's, Mother's Day or it's her birthday. But she's gotten way better over the years.
The thing is that it's you do that because we're 3 hours ahead of them. And so it's like...
But also because there's been previous, years in life where like an entire day goes by, forget the 3 hours, and it's like, yesterday was Mom's birthday. But no,
I'm staying out of this conversation.
She hadn't, I know, she can be so pissed. She hadn't gotten my dad a present yet, so I told her about the pizza oven for his birthday, and she totally jumped on that bandwagon and got him a bunch of accessories too, which I was super excited about because a lot of it's like the whole thing, like the oven, the paddles,
Yeah.
everything.
It's like a hobby. Like it's not like a.
And there's like all these things you need to be successful. It's like you need the wood, you need the gas burner, you need all these things. And so she actually really helped make our Father's Day come to life.
Thank you so much. We're really gonna enjoy this pizza, and thank you for your contribution.
Yeah. Well, and her brother-in-law actually does wood fire pizzas, and when I was out there visiting, they have the full-blown like built in,
like part of their home.
Yes, like
the whole
huge
grilling
logs,
outdoors,
and they really have like mastered the craft. And something
they have like fires inside of the
And I thought that I was going to be like really good at it. I love to cook, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to. And it's so hard to like get the pizza, and it's so hot. Like you don't realize how nervous it makes you.
Yeah.
I got better.
I can't wait to try it. Are we making personal pizzas or just cool. I'm excited. I'll have a meat lovers pizza.
Yeah, that's the ingredients list.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's what I like. You'll be excited. I know. So on one of our ventures, we also had some hats, and I was laughing earlier
because the hats.
It's just I came up with this great idea. To give away hats with our
always
with our
come up with great ideas.
Yeah. And we're laughing about it because our team came up with the idea, and I was listening, but maybe not quite comprehending, and so
he was man listening.
I was man listening.
Yeah.
What's man listening? I know exactly what man listening is.
You hear what you want to hear.
I'm nodding
when you want to hear it.
I mean, how many times have we been here and you've been talking about something? I'm like, yeah, here's, what you were doing that, and it's all really good. But here's what I was thinking about.
No, did we? Yeah, so that was the whole point. I said something today, and then like 5 minutes later, not even, like 1 minute later, he was like, you know what we could do? I was like, that's a fantastic idea. I just said that. But what was the comment? When you're man listening, there's like this comment that you should say that always like saves you.
Can you believe that?
Yeah. Because normally guys will like nod their heads or say
I saw this amazing thing, and it's like when you're lost in a conversation and people are talking about something,
which is him,
and they're waiting for your response, the best response you can give is, can you believe that? Which will apply to like 90% of all,
even if you're like talking
all
about
situations,
whether it's something that happened or someone that was like being a horrible person, you're like, can you believe that? And then
based on the intensity, you actually phrase it. It's like, can you believe that? Or you can be like, can you believe that? Like, you need to adjust it based off of the tone.
When he first started using it, I was like shocked, I think, actually, that you were engaged. It's so engaged. Yeah. Like it's something I've always wanted. And
I would laugh after I said it because I'm like, this shit works.
Yeah. And then one time he used it improperly, so the whole thing came out. But I was like, dude.
And then I told her, I was like,
really
that. This is what I've been saying. So now when I say it to you, you're like, okay, you're not listening.
Right. It's almost still just as satisfying. I'll just keep rolling with it.
I love it.
Speaking of things I can't believe, we were, for those of you who don't know, I got voluntold to be the president of our board in our
HOA community.
Yes, of our HOA. Whether you live in a community or not, like these things are crazy to maintain on your
and they have
house.
Huge budgets, and everyone's sitting there looking at them,
or tiny budgets, and everyone's sitting there looking at them. But what I was going to say is we've traveled so much in the month of May that we came home. We were sitting out in the courtyard one night with my dad, actually, and I'm looking around and I was like, holy shit, the trees and the bushes, they're like
they're sprouting legs. It's like trees.
They're like
trees are growing.
Oh, it was insane. I'm like, okay, our landscapers haven't been.
Right.
Of course, the whole community's looking at me.
And what's interesting is that before we kept really good tabs. We have a small little 14-unit community.
Yeah, we're right downtown.
In downtown. And so we used to work at home, post-COVID, and so we're there, and so we would actually see them come.
Yeah, we're at
and
the
so
office
it's like,
now.
oh yeah, they're coming regularly, and because we're active on our board, it's like we know what's happening.
I love how he says we're.
But now,
I mean, he half participates in that too.
I'm like the community handyman.
He is. He was like, we need to be part of this board. I have never in my entire life participated on a board, and I will say it is good to be involved. But yes,
it's very important to be involved because it impacts your budgets. And what we've seen with insurance and everything else is if you let other people control it, you have no say in that budget. That's a line item that's part of your life that if you do not participate, you just, you're
living there. You're not giving your opinion on what the community needs.
And you just have to accept it because there's nothing you can do if they change those prices.
And anybody can join. And that's the
and
thing.
You might have people on those boards that have the free time and have disposable income, and they don't care if the prices go up.
Right.
So you're the kind of like that voice of like, hey, there's normal people here too. You know, we can't be spending all this extra money on blank.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is crazy. It's like, you know, the age old kind of conversation piece when looking for a home is, do you buy in an HOA or a COA? Like, do you have these fees that you're paying? It's like there's a convenience to it because you don't have to facilitate it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, some things just get rolled over, like insurance, go from personal to community.
Right. And, you know, it's part of those fees. But there's other, I mean, especially in downtown Sarasota, there's tons of like high-rise condos whose HOA fees are larger than most people's mortgages on a monthly basis.
We have a friend who's just their condo fee is $3,500 a month.
Which I mean, obviously that's like buku bucks, but
and it's
still,
insane.
it's insanity.
That's insanity.
And you sit there in those big buildings and go, "What am I getting for this?" You know, it's like you're paying for the
Trust
amenities,
me, they know what they're getting
pools,
for it. They're getting a Bellman. They're getting a multi-million-dollar view out their balcony on Sarasota Bay.
Yeah,
they know what they're getting.
But anyway, we had to find new landscapers, and it was like this whole thing, which you know brought me to this. It's amazing how you can go to a company and ask them to quote a job for the same thing, and this goes for anything in life. And it's kind of what we were talking about with weighing the options of how to fix the van. It's like you really need to make sure that you're looking into all of your options. You're going to a couple of different, it's worth getting a couple of quotes. One for negotiation. If you think someone's going to do a better job, you can be like, hey, like you were $1,000 off of this other quote I got. Or just to find better options.
Right. And kind of keeping, comparing apples to apples and keeping everyone on the same page. So
sometimes these big name brand companies can charge a lot just because they're...
Well, they do have premium service, and they drug test employees, and they do all that stuff. And so what you're paying for there is more peace of mind that they're not going to disappear in the middle of the night. And, a lot of times when you're either starting a business or let's say that you just bought a house and you're a starter home, a lot of times you want to cut corners and get those costs low, but you're sacrificing if something goes wrong later.
Yeah.
That...
Sometimes it's trusted small businesses that are trying to build a name for themselves. But there are other times where it's like you pay less and you're sitting there all kicking yourself going, you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. Yeah. And one of the things that, like with our HOA and other things is, and specifically relating to budgets, is things like, just looking at like lawn maintenance or pool care, right? So whether you do it yourself or whether you hire someone, if you're looking to cut on your budget, then you might save a couple $100s a month in these service fees for these companies to do it, but then you're kind of taking away from your time, right? Yeah. And so depending on how much you make, or if you work on the weekends, etc., you can take a really quick look and be like, you know what, it's actually worth more for me to work maybe an extra hour during the week a day, and knock out stuff, and then hire someone on a Saturday to mow my lawn, or during the week to mow my lawn, so I can enjoy my Saturday with the family.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people just look at it and go, as at a fixed cost. I like to look at it and go, where can I increase my revenue to help defray these other costs? Yeah. And there's a rule that says that if let's say that you make $20 an hour and you can pay someone else to do the same task for $10 an hour, that you should work what your expertise is at 20 and then hire the person at 10.
Right.
And so things like lawn care, et cetera, where you might be able to get someone in there.
Because it's your time.
It's
Some
your time.
people really enjoy mowing the lawn. If you've got a rider, it's nice.
I used to enjoy mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
I really
have
love
lawns
not
that
mowing.
he needs.
We don't have a lawn now, and I realize I can't believe I used to love mowing the lawn.
Right. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll come back to you.
Because I love the extra hours now. Now we have those extra 2-3 hours.
There are crazy. So like a lot of communities where there's no HOA, like it depends on where you are, but there can be like huge boats and monster trucks on the lawn.
Oh my gosh. And people with
But it was
lawns.
funny. Did you see, I think it was like on one of the local news channels the other day, there was a guy who was asked, his boat was showing, and they were like, you can't just have your boat out and showing. It needs to be like either in your backyard or behind a fence or something.
Yeah.
And so he built the fence and he
then
literally
painted the
had a
cover with the
mural.
boat.
Yeah, he had a mural of his boat, life size, to
Because
look
they
like
made
it.
him build a fence to cover it.
And then
so he
what
just
do you
painted the
say?
fence to look like a boat.
It was like a big, and then the
Yeah.
other one was, I think,
That's the big middle finger there.
yeah, exactly. There was another one. These are probably, Florida stories, Florida man. It's
gosh.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But there was another one, and this is not, no political view. It was just another one with the big middle finger in their community. Someone had a political flag up on one of the soon to be presidents. And they said that they needed to take down their political flag. They couldn't have anything. So they wrapped their boat. And it was like one of those waterway communities where you were driving down the waterway.
So, yeah.
And there was a guy who was videotaping it, and he goes, well, if that ain't a big fuck you, I don't know what is. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that I think a lot of us want to do.
I
right
would never
away.
do it. That's
And then
something
we get
he would do, and
like,
then I would be like,
oh, I'm totally doing this. But then the moment I mention it to you, you're like, no,
I would
no,
be like,
no.
our neighbors are going to hate us.
You're like my voice of reason.
I try to be. Sometimes he does things
Wish I had
behind my
called
back.
you before I drove home.
Because I'm the president of the board, like I get a lot of notifications. And one day I got this letter that was like, somebody put this note on, and I had no idea he did it, and it still didn't say anything.
That's why I don't say
and
anything.
I read this email and I called him right away and I was like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Because that's so you.
It sounded like something, and I did it. So, and, it's like that passive aggressive neighbor, like bring your trash cans in. Like, I'm tired of looking at them.
Who would do such a thing?
I would do that. Yes. You know what I am?
gosh.
You know what I am? I'm community Batman.
Oh my gosh. Batman?
Yeah.
Keeping the community clean.
I'm
And
fighting
then
crime in my neighborhood.
He's like, I don't want to look at your trash cans. 4 days later, he's got jet skis parked outside for an entire week as he changes out. It's like,
yeah, well, I was working on them and stuff. So
well, obviously, that was what you needed to do.
it wasn't trash. The community guidelines talk about trash cans. They do not talk about jet
And our
skis.
new neighbor came out. He hadn't met him before, and he was just like, we were pulling him away, and he was like, oh, good. I don't have to look at those things anymore. Instead,
Actually, he said I don't have to drive around them.
Yeah.
And I almost made a comment
he
like,
made such a Chris comment, and he didn't like that.
oh,
was
I
like,
gave him the death stare. And then I kind of looked at him and I was thinking, if you only knew what Batman could do.
oh my God. He's a very nice man. All of our neighbors
He's
are
very nice. New neighbor from up north.
We do we joke, but Chris not only is the community handyman, he's literally the nicest human in the entire world. We've got some neighbors where he's helped install railings in their house. He's hung TVs. He's hung mirrors. Like, he is the first
anyone
man
who
that
asks for
anyone
help.
calls.
Because again, the demographic in our community skews
A little
at
bit
least 20 years
yes.
older.
But you even have some really good friends, and whether it's their place or their daughter's place, they've experienced plumbing issues. Like, you are on speed dial, and he shows up every single time because he's got the shit in our garage to go and fix.
Yeah. And you know what? It's karma, right? Like, I really
The good
enjoy
karma.
helping other people, and I feel that it all comes back. And that reminds me that our good auto mechanic friend, when they visited us, they always give us a bottle of wine when they visit. And we talked about gift giving like
Too
months
much.
ago.
They're so sweet.
And it's too much. And we always say no, but they always insist on doing it.
They even did it the other day.
And you
at
know
the
what?
lake.
It's karma. Like,
I was like,
I
this
mean,
is
they're the
lake.
ones that we brought, too, and we're going to do a big engine replacement. And it's like, it's like this full circle. And I was joking with you, I think last night or whatever. And I said, you know what? We just need to invite them over 40 more times.
They'll pay us back
we'll
in
get
wine.
our money back in wine.
And Chris doesn't even drink wine, so
I don't
he's
even
just
drink
making
wine.
it make sense in his
I
head.
enjoy a sip of wine. I love sangria.
Yeah, you do. He likes the sweeter drinks.
I like the sweeter drinks.
But anyway, on that note, we hope everybody has a sweet
We're going to let you know what
weekend,
happens. We're going to
enjoying
get
your
this
father's
vehicle
company.
fixed. We're going to get back in business and let you know the damage.
Yes, happy Father's Day. Hopefully the weather's nice. You get a good grill in.
Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.